In the year 2148, Palestine qualifies for the World Cup and is eliminated in the semi-finals, losing to Chile on penalty kicks. The world seems to have accelerated here in the 93rd minute, with 4 minutes of stoppage time on the clock, almost done with, all the sand nearly at the bottom of the hourglass. Palestine trails 1-2 against the mighty Chile. A fast paced game so far, with Diaz's incredible goal from nearly 30 yards away, swiftly followed by another from Galdames, a header off a pass from Cuevas. And then the great Palestinian breath of life just at the last moment of the first half from El Mansour, the powerful forward from Jabalia, who slipped just inside the box to bury one between flustered Coelho's legs. And the ball has slipped away from Chile now for a throw in from Palestine, and it's Sansour who will take it. A long ball into Baroud, who drives down the center, finding some space. Baroud, that wily center mid from Khan Yunis, whose father was the great Abdel Mughni Baroud, the captain of that Palestinian squad in the Golden Age, who led the nation to 2 World Cup wins in 10 years. Across to Ahmed. Ahmed tearing down the right sideline, finds Khalid. Khalid to number 9, Wajih Tbakhi. Tbakhi breaks away, spins past Santiago. He's tearing down the field. Clears 1, clears 2, 3 defenders, chips the ball forward. A beautiful pass drifting through the air, light and free. Look at it go. And the pass finds Kan'ana, who reads it just right, closes his eyes, pulls back and thrusts his head forward like it's cupped in the palm of God. And there is a header right into the corner, just grazing past the near post. Coelho dives for it, the tips of his fingers just getting acquainted with the ball, but is still stranger enough to let it slip past his grasp. The world stops for a moment. The land holds its breath. Goal! Palestine scores, bringing the score to a tied 2-2 at the last possible moment. An incredible pass from Wajih Tbakhi, and you can see the way he and Kan'ana are celebrating, the two of them on the ground, their heads touching, their hands laying flat on the turf beside them, fingers loving the soil like family. And now we go into extra time. The clocks have been hijacked by Palestine. The time has been taken back. This team have not given up the ghost. There is still life in this fight. And that was the poem. In the year 2148, Palestine qualifies for the World Cup and is eliminated in the semifinals, losing to Chile on penalty kicks. This poem was written in English by the Palestinian American poet Fargo Tbakhi. I heard it for the first time at the Palestine Rights Festival in 2020 during COVID, which was held online. Um, what's The poem is written, as you may have inferred, in the style of a football commentator talking about a Palestine match in the year 2148. Of course, that year is incredibly significant. 2148 would be 200 years after the onset of the Nakba, um, which was the process by which Palestinians were expelled from Palestine, and an ongoing process, in fact, that we still live today, with Palestinians still living the Nakba and being expelled from Palestine, being killed, being massacred in Gaza and in the West Bank and in the 48 territories as well. So the poem comes from this relatively recently emerging tradition of Palestinian futurist writing, trying to imagine what a free Palestine could look like in the future. Now, of course, what's really impressive, I think, more impressive possibly considering our interview this morning about the fact that the poem is set in the year 2148, is not that Palestine is free, because that's an inevitability that will absolutely happen, inshallah, in our lifetimes, but that the World Cup is still a thing by then, considering that, it may actually end within the current generation. Um, but of course, this poem has several other really interesting points worth mentioning. Of course, the choice of opposition. So the match is a match between Palestine, the Palestinian national team, and Chile. And Chile is not just a random choice. Chile, in my opinion, was an intentional choice that Fargo Tbakhi chose for Palestine's opponent at this World Cup. It is, of course, first and foremost, a fellow global South country. And this is significant, of course, because if we look at the kind of very successful football teams, there are only three countries that we would consider to be from the global South who've actually won the World Cup. One, of course, is Brazil, who've won it 5 times, the most, the country that's won it the most. The second is the current champions, Argentina, who've won it 3 times. And the third, of course, is Uruguay, whose last victory in the World Cup was in 1950. So that was quite some time ago, a period possibly that a lot of people don't remember anymore. And besides those three countries, really, there aren't very many countries from the rest of South America, from Africa, from Asia, who have been particularly successful at the World Cup. Um, the For example, just to kind of put that into perspective, at the 2022 World Cup, Morocco reached the semifinals, and that was the farthest an African country had ever reached. It was also the first time an African country had reached the semifinals of the FIFA World Cup. And I think I'll stop there for the time being, since we do have to entertain an ad break very shortly. But once we come back after the break, we'll go more deeply into the interesting selection of Chile as an opponent for Palestine in 2148. And we will also go a little bit more deeply into some other aspects that make this poem a really interesting one for us to think about this morning. And so I'll be back with you after this very short break. Please stay tuned.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Across Sudan, starvation is tightening its grip. With rising food prices and widespread malnutrition, 8.7 million people are now facing emergency or famine-level hunger. As the conflict intensifies and aid routes narrow, families in Sudan are running out of options and time. The Al-Imdad Foundation is delivering life-saving humanitarian aid to those most at risk. Stand with Sudan. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Yasin Badat Financial Advisory. Are your financial goals feeling out of reach? Yasin Badat Financial Advisory is here to turn your aspirations into achievements. Our dedicated team, armed with a history of success, is ready to guide you through the complex nature of financial and investment planning. Whether you're a seasoned investor or new to the game, our personalized solutions cater to your unique goals and risk appetite. Trust in our commitment to transparency, integrity, and excellence. Ready to unlock a world of financial freedom? Partner with us today. Call Yasin Badat Financial Advisory at +27 33 346 2071 or visit www.yasinbadat.com. Yasin Badat Financial Advisory, guiding you to financial success.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Use the black seed, for indeed it is a cure for every disease except death." This Ramadan, honor that guidance. Tip Black Seed supports your blood sugar during fasting, boosts immunity, sustains your energy from suhoor to iftar. Available at leading pharmacies. Black Seed, your golden drop every day.
With so many investment options today, it's only natural that you might feel a little confused which route to take. Should I buy shares or should I invest in gold bullion? Randery Jewelers now brings you the Zahab coin, an alternative to the Kruger Rand. The Zahab coin, a solid wealth protector in its purest form of 24-karat gold, is the safest way to protect your wealth. So don't just sit there and watch your paper money depreciate. Change to gold. Call Randery Jewelers now at 031 202 4701 or visit www.rjcoin.co.za, situated at 151 Essenwood Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Salam Media, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
Thus, throughout that break, we are still discussing the poem In the Year 2148. Palestine qualifies for the World Cup and is eliminated in the semifinals, losing to Chile on penalty kicks by the Palestinian poet Fargo Tbakhi. And we stopped by talking about the choice of opponent for Palestine in this poem, Chile. And so the first point, of course, that makes them a very interesting choice of opponent is the fact that, of course, it is another global South country reaching the semifinals. And in fact, Chile reaches the final of the World Cup in 2048 in this poem. And I would hope that they achieve victory in that World Cup, seeing that they knocked out our dear Palestinian national team. The other reason that is really interesting, for why Chile was probably chosen by the poet is, of course, that Chile today hosts the largest Palestinian diaspora outside of West Asia. And so, of course, there are significant Palestinian populations in places in Europe, in the United States, and Canada. But the largest Palestinian population outside of West Asia is, of course, in Chile. So the names that he chooses for the Chileans, if anyone had picked up on this, Cuevas, Coelho, Diaz, they're not Palestinian names. Although you do have, sometimes Palestinian players with Palestinian names who do play for Chile, and so, this is a very subtle nod to the fact that the Palestinian refugees have returned, in my opinion, which is, of course, the main thing that we advocate for when we're fighting for Palestine. Chile, of course, is also host to a club called Deportivo Palestino. And this is a club that was started by Palestinian immigrants to Chile in 1920. So in fact, there is not only is Palestine much older than Israel, but there's even a football club with Palestine's name in it that is older than Israel. And that Palestinian football club also owes a lot of its success to a few to many Palestinian Chilean players. In fact, it's kind of considered the second national team of Palestine. And in exchange as well, the Palestinian national team has also benefited from those players being there. So, for example, Roberto Quetlun, a Palestinian Chilean, played for Palestino and played for Palestine, the national team. And then after he retired, went back to Chile and became the sporting director of Deportivo Palestino. Other significant national team players who played for Palestine but were Palestinians from Chile include, for example, Jonathan Cantiana Zorilla, Edgardo Abdallah, and Yasser Islami Pinto. And of course, Camilo Saldana, one of Palestine's current players, also comes from the diaspora in Chile and also used to play for Palestino. Now, another kind of aspect to why this poem is really interesting is that the Palestinian names also represent different parts of Palestine, showing that the national team is really representative of Palestinian society. And that's actually still the case at the moment. So the current national team contains players from the West Bank, from Jerusalem, from the 48 territories, from Gaza, and from the diaspora. So Chilean players, for example, as I had mentioned, like Camilo Saldana, but also players from the Palestinian diaspora in the United States, for example, like Nazmi al-Badawi, who retired a couple of years ago, and Omar Jaroun, who was from Canada, and then of course players like uh, players whose names I'm forgetting at the moment, like Amr Qadoura, who is from the Palestinian diaspora in Sweden. And so the in the poem, of course, you have of course Mansour from Jabalia camp, who's named in the poem, who's not a real person at the moment, but represents someone from Jabalia camp in Gaza. Baroud from Khan Yunis, it's another family who are from Gaza as well. Tbakhi, we have the character Wajih Tbakhi, who provides the assist for the goal. And he is of course named after the poet who wrote the poem, but that is a family from Al Khalil, although the location is not mentioned in the poem, but that's something that we know. Kan'ana, the player that scores the goal, is from Arraba, which is a village in the Galilee. So that's from the 48 territories, and so thereby, the poem unites players from the three parts of Palestine, the West Bank. So with Tbakhi from Al Khalil, Gaza, Baroud, and Mansour, and Kan'ana from the 48 territories. And so this suggests to us that Palestine, in 2148 is Palestine from the river to the sea. And inshallah, we will live to see the day that that is the case. Other interesting references, of course, loving the soil like family, because of course one of the most important aspects of the Palestinian struggle is the importance of land, and not just land as land, because land is not a commodity for Palestinians. Land is a living thing, a living, breathing thing, and beyond it being a living and breathing thing, soil, of course, is really important, because what produces biodiversity and good food is good soil. And good soil comes from sustainable farming practices, and not commercial farming practices like monocropping that produce really bad soil. And that's also one of the big contestations between Palestinians who are looking to kind of secure their futures in terms of food, and the Israeli occupation that's looking to use the land as a commercial commodity just to profit off of it. And so that's a really important point. And then, of course, finally, one of my favorite lines: time has been hijacked by Palestine. Because of course Palestine became a really big topic in the 60s and 70s, due to a series of plane hijackings that put Palestine on the map, that made people familiar with the fact that there is a problem there, and that Israel's presence is not something to be normalized. And so I think it's very poetic. Well, it is a poem that Fargo Tbakhi ends the poem with the line, Palestine, time has been hijacked by Palestine, in response to, of course, them clawing back, a deficit in terms of goals to reach a draw at the end of 90 minutes and go on to extra time, after which they poetically don't make it. But of course, this is not the golden generation, and another golden generation, inshallah, is to come. And so that's it for the poem today. And we will be back after another short break with our next guest.